Hey, 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 welcome. It's another week. Okay, this is your boy Greg Gray, Dopeliven TV. The dope means good. We're living good, okay? I want to, and forgot to put on the part live, Dopeliven TV Live. We're live. So, right off the bat, the views that are expressed on this Dopeliven TV Live are not necessarily the views of Dopeliven TV or its affiliates. We want to have a great conversation today. Now, I wasn't going to talk about this today, but decided that I wanted to because I got an inbox today. I got an email yesterday. I got emails just asking me to join a Bitcoin club or a Bitcoin group, cryptocurrency. Uh, Anyone who knows me knows that if I'm not familiar with it, if I'm not educated on it, I don't do it. So what I wanted to do today was to educate, or at least get someone on here who can educate everyone about Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, things of that nature. So I wanted to start off real quick just by saying what is cryptocurrency, and the definition that I'm finding online, which may not necessarily be the right definition, and I'm finding that out after speaking with this gentleman who's in the green room right now. But they said cryptocurrency is a form of payment that can be exchanged online for goods and services. They also state that many companies have their own currencies, which they call tokens. These can be traded, just like you're on a casino for chips or arcade tokens, and you need to exchange real currency for the cryptocurrency to access the goods or services. Cryptocurrencies work using a technology called blockchain, and blockchain is a decentralized technology spread across many computers that manages and records transactions. Part of the appeal of the technology is its security. So having said that, I want to bring on our guest. As I spoke with him earlier this evening, I should say, enlightened me just that quick on certain things, and the way that he explained it. And see, I don't like being sold to. And you guys know that we had somebody on before who was saying, okay, you can make X amount of dollars. You can do this. You can do that. You can do this with it. Okay, I'm going to quit my job soon and blah, blah, blah. Okay, hey, tell me what the future is for Bitcoin. Tell me what it's about. Explain to me exactly what it is, all right? And this gentleman did. So everybody, please welcome Mr. Jerry Hall to the show.
Hey, Greg, how are you tonight, man?
I am great, Jerry. Appreciate you spending some time with us today, man. Again, I want to thank you for taking the time out and talking with us, because you didn't have to, number one. And number two, I learned a lot in just those few seconds that we spoke. So I wanted to, first of all, give you an opportunity to explain who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Jerry Hall, and I guess you would say officially, I'm a retired contractor. Had a contracting business from the time I was 18 till I officially retired when I was 50. And I maintained that license in California all those years. But I've always been somebody who took on other things. Like, I always had some kind of side hustle. I had night and weekend jobs, and I did all kinds of things. I managed a gun range. I worked for a bank as a loan officer. I worked in a green room on the weekends, a clean room manufacturing and understanding what they call clean room technology, and trying to understand some of these type of things. So I've always done other things on top of having my construction company. That'll give you a little precedent for what happened when I retired. When I was 50, I started studying, and I realized very quickly I didn't have enough money to fund the rest of my life. Right. And I don't think it's an uncommon thing for a lot of us, that we kind of live in the current, and we can think we're doing the right things, and then circumstances can change, and we can find ourselves, you know what? I'm not set up. I just wasn't set up.
Right.
And so that forced me to educate myself around economics, monetary policy, understanding how value is created in financial systems, right? And that led me into a course of, okay, I am not going to be able to survive on my savings the methods that my grandmother taught me as a young man, she would sit me down and talk to me about bonds. She would say, she would speak to the miraculous invention of buying your government's debt and how you could, I could derive an income in my retirement risk-free. And these are all very appealing things. You go, I like risk-free, especially if I'm not earning an income, right?
Right.
Well, fast forward to the time I'm 50 and I'm retiring and shutting down my business and looking for, how I'm going to live my life. And I start digging into bonds, and the yields or the return on my investments that bonds would produce when my grandmother was alive are just not available anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The days of having a savings account where I could earn 6% on my money, those days are gone.
Yep,
in our current financial landscape. And so I start going through these various elements. I was also somebody who survived the 2008 financial crisis.
Yeah.
And was very keen and aware to the dangers and pitfalls of thinking that real estate investment would be my savior, having, experienced what 2008 did to me and did to real estate. So that wasn't an option. You start going down the checklist and you start, okay, well, let's see. That only leaves me with equities, specific stocks.
Mm-hmm.
And as you start looking into these financial products and you see how they've derived their valuation, it became very clear to me that what was posted as the price of the stocks did not actually represent the value of the asset that I was buying.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's very difficult for me to understand how Apple, who I think is one of the most incredible companies in the world, could take on, $380 billion in debt. No, sorry. Could raise in price $380 billion in 6 months and not have produced one single dollar more of revenue. So all the models that I was seeing as far as how I understood value were in direct conflict to what I was seeing on these tickers in the stock markets and stuff. And that's kind of frightening, thinking that, okay, all these things are really overvalued. What happens when it's time to pay the piper?
There you go.
Right? When is reality going to come back into our financial markets? And I know at some point it will. Everything finds its equilibrium at some time. Then I discovered digital assets, cryptocurrencies. And it was upon reading and understanding the mechanics of these instruments that I started to see very quickly that the downfall of all these other markets was because of human ingenuity and human interference or human manipulation through policy. Well, these digital assets, and let's keep this conversation simple. We'll just talk about Bitcoin. It's the thing that most people have heard about.
Right.
They're going to have, it has the name recognition, but literally all cryptocurrencies follow under this particular category. And that is, they are governed by code and encrypted for security with hardcore encryption. And then they are also decentralized so that all of the goodies are not in one place. As a matter of fact, all the same information is distributed over hundreds of thousands of computers around the world.
Okay, and I mentioned that in my intro, how
Yes.
that's the most secured. You guys have the most, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies are very secure. In the interim, Gina and Ujimar came on. Let's welcome them to the show as well.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, how are you?
Good to see you.
We're speaking with Jerry Hall, and he's going to educate us. You remember, Gina, before we had somebody on here who said they knew about Bitcoin, and they really turned me off. But Jerry's going to speak a little bit more. So, sorry to interrupt. You were talking about the securities.
Well, what I basically the premise that really I was keen to when I found digital assets was the governance, right? The rules of the game are set in code, and it takes an act of God to change them. In digital assets, the code can be changed. We all know that. Anybody who's had any experience knows code can be changed.
Right.
However, in these digital asset networks, to change the code, you need more than 51% of the participants in the network to agree to that code change.
Okay.
It cannot be changed without that. Well, as these digital assets are getting larger and larger, I can't get 10 of my friends to agree on going to the same restaurant. How are we going to get 100 million people to agree on this particular rule change? There's an element of that that is very attractive to me. Having lived through various political administrations manipulating and changing the outcome of my life through monetary policy, whether it be through deficit spending. Hey, let's go to war somewhere. These are policies that people implement.
Okay.
Well, when your policy is governed by code, it isn't willy-nilly. It isn't subject to change on a whim or a sentiment. This is a very attractive thing for me when we're talking about my value. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So in essence, like if you just came to me on the street and said, "Hey, Jerry, I heard you know about Bitcoin. What is Bitcoin?" Bitcoin is a monetary network. It's a digital monetary network that lives on hundreds of thousands of computers around the world. It's completely global. It's completely decentralized, and it's governed by code and secured through the most incredible encryption known to man. 12 years, over $1 trillion of value on that network, and it has not been hacked, and it's not from lack of trying.
Right.
This is a very valuable thing to me. Understanding, and we can all equate to this, one of the things that we've all grown up with is being told about the value of gold and why gold has always been valuable throughout the history of man. It's because it was always very scarce. It's the element of scarcity and durability that have always been very attractive to humans, to use gold as a source of value, a place to store your value and protect your wealth. Well, in today's world, moving gold around is expensive. I don't know if any of you have ever had to ship or move gold. It's expensive. And it's expensive to secure it. It generally takes men with guns. Without that, other men with guns will come and try to take it.
Take it away from you.
All right. Well, this monetary network that is Bitcoin is fully digitized. It moves around the planet at the speed of light. That to me is very attractive. I could go on and on and on, but if you have specific questions, please fire away, and I'd like to address specific things if people are your audience in the chat or the in the studio with us.
I definitely have questions because I've had a lot of people approach me about investing in Bitcoin. I do invest. Bitcoin is not something that I invest in. However, my fiance invests too, and he does have Bitcoin. So we're kind of like on different ends of the spectrum as far as what to invest in. I just never really understood it. Right. Two, I get the conception that with Bitcoin, you spend it with retailers who accept Bitcoin. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the perception I get. There are retailers that sign up to say, okay, we accept Bitcoin, and those are the places you can spend that Bitcoin at. Is that correct?
That is true. That is true. And there are companies like, how you probably have a plastic card in your wallet, says Visa on it. You might have one that says MasterCard on it. What those are payment networks. They plug into retailers and they plug into banks. and they allow you to access funds from members of the network to use with other members of the network. So Visa is accepted here, and you can online bill pay your Visa from your bank. You know, those are all network partnerships plugging into the payments network. Bitcoin is the same, but I will tell you, by design, Bitcoin is slow and relatively expensive if you compare it to a Visa transaction, because there's the conversion, all the conversion stuff that you have to do, right? Pardon me. Excuse me. So Bitcoin as a currency isn't really effective. You know, Bitcoin is slow. There might be 6 Bitcoin transactions per second. That's nothing. Visa is doing 150,000 transactions per second. Visa is a far superior payment network than Bitcoin. So I wouldn't consider Bitcoin a good currency, but it is an excellent store of value. It's secure, it's mobile, and it retains its value against paper dollars, what they call fiat currency.
So it's more of an investment.
Now, you know what? Yes. Now, there are digital assets in the crypto, this category called cryptocurrency that are extremely fast, extremely cheap transactions, move at the speed of light, that are very appropriate for payments. You know, buying your coffee at Starbucks, or, you know, putting gas in your gas car. Yeah, I mean, putting gas in your gas car, putting gas in your car. Bitcoin is like a digital gold. It really is a pristine mechanism to store value. And the reason being is that it is scarce. See, the code is written where there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. Each Bitcoin is divisible up to 1 million. So it's got 6 zeros behind the point. So each Bitcoin is 1 point and then 6 zeros.
Mm-hmm.
So it's divisible, which you want value to be divisible.
Right?
It'd be, you know, back in the old-fashioned days when you were bartering and you had a cow, but you only needed 5 chickens and 1 pig. And the farmer said, well, give me the cow for the 5 chickens and the pig. And you're going, man, you're getting the much better of the deal, but I need those chickens for the eggs, and I got to have some bacon. So, okay, here, you take the better of the deal. If you could divide the cow up, see the division, divisible. If it's divisible, then you can start to move and do something with it. It can be exchanged. So this network, Bitcoin, this monetary network, has only 21 million. This creates scarcity. There can never be more. And what happens is the actual supply and demand metric of all economics kicks into play.
There you go.
If you put your money on the Bitcoin network and get a fraction of a Bitcoin or a whole Bitcoin or whatever you decide to do, you are part of that supply and demand interface, that economic principle. So the more people that demand it, the more money goes on the network, the higher the price goes. It's just strictly a function of supply and demand. We can look. Go ahead.
Sorry. Now you gave me an example, and we were sticking with the supply and demand. What happens when, and we spoke on this earlier, when you introduce something else in there?
Well, what I was talking about for supply and demand, and what makes a digital asset that's governed by code so attractive, is because we live in a system where our monetary units, right? The monetary units, we call them dollars.
Right.
In Europe, they call them euros. In Mexico, they call them pesos. All those things are units of measure for our time as a physical representation of value. So it's a way we hold value, those paper dollars. Well, what happens is politicians, they need to fund things. They need to fund campaigns. They need to fund wars. They need to fund the ability to pay the employees. They do that through taxation. Well, when taxation is low, they've got to figure out a way to do it. So what they do is they create debt in the form of a government bond. People buy the bonds because they're going to get a guaranteed return on their investment.
Mm-hmm.
But as the government needs more and more money to do more and more things, to fund more and more projects and more whatever, they issue more bonds. This puts a tremendous amount of currency into the economy of their nation. Well, if you have $1 in your hand today that you worked your butt off for, and you're going to hold and store that economic value, right? It means something to you. But a politician says, I need to build a new bridge, create a new bond, create new currency, get that currency out into the market. That new currency is coming into your system and devaluing your dollar.
Absolutely.
This is called currency debasement. Currency debasement. Very important for every single person who interacts in the economy to understand this. They don't teach this in school, by the way. It's very rare that any of us have got public education, went to junior college, or even state universities. They're not educating you on financial literacy. The reason, if they did teach you and you understood financial literacy and you understood all these things, you would rebel against the way they handle monetary policy. There'd be marches on Washington. Anyway, that's my little rant on that.
So
it's the basement issue, and it's the scarcity of these digital assets that make them so attractive, because they cannot be debased or diluted. But all those other assets can be, right? Gold, you can mine more, and they are incentivized to mine more the minute the price goes up. They have a financial incentive to put more people and equipment to mine more gold. Oil, any commodity, anything you can grow, dig out of the ground, or create, if it has value, people will try to get more of it. All right, so there's that.
Absolutely.
Dollars, create debt, put more dollars in the system. Real estate, new development, right? There's still a tremendous amount of undeveloped land. If you need homes, suburban areas get bigger. Urban areas get bigger. Rural areas get smaller. They just develop more because they're incentivized to do so.
Right.
Let's talk about stocks. Stocks. If a company wants to, they can issue debt against their company, future revenues, buy their own stock back, jack up their stock price. And as more people come in, the demand to get that stock, because it's rising, they will issue more stock. So a company might have started out when it started with 1 million shares. Well, when there's a big demand, guess what they do? They issue more shares.
That makes sense.
And that's in any asset class except these digital assets. And that is what is so attractive from an investor standpoint when you're looking at Bitcoin.
So let me ask you this. So
okay.
having the knowledge, because, and Gina can attest to this, the last time we spoke to someone, and I hate to keep bringing that back up, but there's such a contrast right now. They came to us talking about, hey, man, look, I quit my job. This is going to make me $1 million. If you're not on this, you basically called us stupid. Am I correct, Gina?
Yep, basically, yeah.
And so my thing is this. First of all, we want to encourage everybody to at least get the knowledge. It's not for everybody. Everybody's not going to just jump and agree to it. But how simple is it for the average person to get started into this, having the knowledge?
All right. So if I was new to the space, something attracted me. I heard something Greg talk about.
Excuse me. Keep on. I got to do something real quick.
So Greg mentioned something that piqued my interest, and the internet being the wonderful tool that it is, I can on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or YouTube find information. I go and I'm relatively certain I want to at least test the waters. I want to kind of dive in and get some skin in the game. Getting involved in crypto is relatively easy. It's actually very easy in the United States. We have regulated exchanges like Coinbase, Kraken, and Uphold that do all of the same things that a bank would do to open an account. So you're going to go through what they call anti-money laundering procedures. You're going to go through what they call a know your customer or KYC regulatory element. It's just basically identity verification. So you would submit your passport or state identification. They will, you want to connect your bank to it, right? All that same kind of stuff. So it's just like opening a bank account. You can open an account with one of these digital asset exchanges, and you fund your exchange with your dollars from your bank, and you buy the asset that you want to buy. And that's as simple. That's a very simplistic way to get started. There are other ways. I mean, obviously, I am an investor. And I have an investment strategy. I don't want to just buy an asset that I think will have capital appreciation. Like when you buy a stock and you think it's going to go up, that's capital appreciation. I also want to earn yield. See, I never can get my grandmother out of my head. My grandmother said, buy a bond, get guaranteed yield. You know, get a return on your investment guaranteed, regardless of the price of the asset goes up or down. Well, in the digital asset space, companies that you might have heard of, like Fidelity. Have you ever heard of Fidelity Investments? One of the largest asset managers on the planet with over $9 trillion under management. They've gotten into this. You can park your Bitcoin with them.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, wait, actually, they have a subsidiary called BlockFi, a partnership, a BlockFi thing. Anyway, this company called BlockFi, you can park your Bitcoin and receive 5 or 6% interest on your Bitcoin every day, compounded. Now it's 5% per year, compounded every day, so it's like 0.00115% per day, but it compounds. And for any of us that know that if you want to understand the value of investing, learn about compounding interest.
Okay, it
is truly amazing. And available to us all if you understand it. So that's the value proposition. You know, the value proposition is in a world where currency is being debased and the purchasing power of your dollar is eroding every year, currently at a rate of 20% per year, where it was at 8% from 2008 to 2020. That's been accelerated. COVID and monetary policy has accelerated that currency debasement rate. It is no longer prudent, smart to save money. You lose money when you save money. Saving money is no longer saving money. It's losing money.
Okay, so saying that, with Bitcoin, how are you? What's the benefit of Bitcoin as opposed to the banks?
Well, the benefit of Bitcoin is that they are not going to generate more Bitcoin, devaluing your Bitcoin.
Okay.
That's the value.
Well, I can definitely agree with putting your money in a bank is not going to give you a large return. That's not even the reason that it's not set up in a way like that. It's set up for them to use your money and grow their money with your money. So I agree with you on that aspect as far as, you know, putting your money in a bank is not where you save. But then I also don't really understand. I'm like, Greg, most of the time when I hear people talk about Bitcoin, it's like, well, this is going to be the currency of the future. Money isn't going to be worth anything. Bitcoin is the money of the future. And that right there just does not resonate with me.
Well, and I'll tell you why it shouldn't resonate with you, because it's a fallacy. That's not accurate. Bitcoin will not be the currency of the future. Wow. Bitcoin is digital gold. It is a store of value. Your dollar is the medium of exchange. The US dollar isn't going anywhere, folks. 80% of the world's debt is denominated in the US dollar. The US dollar isn't going anywhere. Oil is priced for trade in the entire planet in US dollars. Right. The US dollar isn't going anywhere, but it is losing value. Mm-hmm. See, this is now we start to have a conversation about inflation. Mm-hmm. Okay? To understand inflation, it's dollars chasing goods and services. Mm-hmm. Okay? This is an example I gave to Greg. It's really super simplistic, but it'll kind of drive the point home. Greg has created 10 widgets, and these widgets are incredible. I mean, you put this widget on your forehead, your arthritis goes away. You put the widget under your left armpit. If you had cancer, it's gone. Mm-hmm. These are truly miraculous, sought after widgets. There's only 10 of them. And there are 100,000 people that want one. Mm-hmm. What happens to these widgets? Do they become very valuable and the price goes up?
Absolutely.
Right? All right. Now let's fast forward to Greg has decided, I don't care if these are scarce or not. I'm going after the money. I'm going to get it today. Mm-hmm. So Greg creates 5 billion widgets, but there's only 100 million people that would ever want one. How valuable are the widgets?
It goes down.
That in essence is the most simplest way I can explain to you the principle of supply and demand. Think of now dollars instead of widgets, think dollars. Mm-hmm. When there is a supply of dollars, mm-hmm. and the demand for those dollars is greater than the supply, the dollar gets stronger. Mm-hmm. But when the old printing press gets cranked up at the Fed, and how the mechanics of that are, the Treasury issues a bond, which is debt. Debt is what? We're taking the prosperity of the future and we're bringing it to today. Mm-hmm. So we're going to issue prosperity from the future, but we're going to issue it today in this bond. And we're going to pay you a return on your investment if you buy this bond. Mm-hmm. Well, do you know what the return rate of a 10-year bond is? It's 1.3% interest.
Yuck.
When we were kids, we were getting 6% at the bank just in our kiddie savings account. Mm-hmm. That's no return on your investment. Mm-hmm. Right. It's nothing, literally nothing.
And if you use the rule of 72,
there you go. Okay,
72, you divide it by that one. It'll take 72 years for that dollar to double. So today in 2021, it's worth $1. It would not become $2 until 2078.
Exactly. However, take now the analogy that I was talking about supply and demand and stick with a truly scarce asset that cannot have its quantity adjusted. Mm-hmm. And that's Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So here is the next dynamic. Mm-hmm. If people are seeking a vehicle, right, some safe haven to beat the demise of currency debasement, mm-hmm. then going into a digital asset that cannot have its supply expanded does one of two things. Each new person that puts money on the network is creating more value for every other participant in the network and themselves. Mm-hmm. So it becomes a self-propelling positive feedback loop. Mm-hmm. I'll give you a couple quick stats. Bitcoin is growing. Bitcoin is the only entity in the history of modern economics that has reached $1 trillion in size in this period of time. It took Microsoft 40 years, took Apple 40 years, it took Google 20 years, it took Amazon 22 years to reach that size. Facebook isn't quite there yet, but it's getting close. So Bitcoin in 11 years, 12 years, we'll call it 12 years, has reached $1 trillion. It's reached escape velocity. It's reached a point of the genie is out of the bottle. There's no putting the genie back in. It's like the toothpaste is out of the tube. Try to cram your toothpaste back in your toothpaste tube after you've taken it out. It's difficult.
Right.
Bitcoin has reached escape velocity. None of the other 6,000 assets underneath it have. So there's still kind of what I would call risk investments. They're interesting projects, and some of them could become incredible things. But Bitcoin has proven itself that it truly is a miraculous monetary network that's accessible to everybody on the planet. All you need is a smartphone and an internet connection.
We got Pat Dorflin asks, is it too late to buy into Bitcoin?
No.
I do Bitcoin machines every day. That's what I do. No, I mean, to give you an idea, we had this conversation probably about about 2 months ago, Greg, about Bitcoin.
Yep.
And it was sitting at like 18,000 or some really small number. Now it's sitting at 52 when I left the office this morning. And to give you an idea of these, everybody wants a Bitcoin machine now in their freaking places. I mean, to give you an idea, I got 20 scheduled this month.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Greg, I jumped on the perfect call because my background is my undergrad is in economics and my master's is in finance. So this is like right up my alley.
All right.
And when I also teach occasionally, and when I teach them, I give the definition of economics as using what you have simply to get what you want.
Yep.
That's a powerful quote, because if you know how to use what you have in order to get what you want, then you'll never lack anything. That means at all times you have everything that you need. I don't want to speak on the Bitcoin topic at all because I don't know enough about it, but I will say that we have to also be mindful of how we use what we have. Yeah. And as much as I don't know, all I can say is I'm very weary. I think of Bitcoin, and Maurice, this is your area of expertise, and Jerry, you're very inept in all of this. I equate it almost to the susu that are going around. The what do they call it? The friendship circle. Everybody invest $100, and then you'll get 15,000. Yeah. And so
I know nothing of this.
You haven't heard of the friendship ring?
No.
We call it the money circle. It's the same thing. I think Bitcoin, though, I don't get that impression from it. I think it's a little bit different. Even when I first heard about it, I heard about Bitcoin probably 3 years ago, and that was the impression I thought at first too. Was like the money circle, but now that I know a little bit more about it, I know it's a little bit different. It's still not really defined to me. Even as we talk to different people, I get different aspects of Bitcoin. Like I said, Robert he's just started dibbing and dabbing in it. But I've been staying away from it because I don't like to really get into anything that I don't understand. I like to go in knowing, so I've kind of stayed away from it. But I know he's been dibbing and dabbing in it for about maybe 6 months now.
I see, Gina, that's why I wanted to talk to Jerry, because he's very adept at it, number one, okay, but number two, you know me, I'll always tell you, I don't speak on too much stuff I don't know.
Mhm.
I know nothing about it. And again, Jocelyn, you're on here, and Maurice, you touched on it as well. You know, when we talked about this before, the people that came on before, and this is my third time saying it, they knew nothing. All they could tell you was that you're going to make this.
Yeah.
That. They knew nothing.
Yeah, and I look at that when people say, "Oh, this is this is the money of the future. You this is going to make you rich," and this,
That's
and
fine.
I'm like, I'm not seeing it. And okay, I'll let you go ahead and be rich, and I'll sit over here and do what I'm doing.
It
I
took me
just
5 minutes to talk with Mr. Hall to start piquing my interest, okay? Because there were facts being thrown. He didn't say you can make 15,000, you can make 20,000, you can make this and that. He didn't say anything about
Well,
money.
it's like any of the investment monies, there is a risk. I mean, if you look back in '07, Bitcoin had its little snafu, but it was because somebody was stealing, and they got a hold of. Jerry, I think you can probably make it a bit more clear than I can.
Are you talking about the 2012 Mount Gox scandal thing?
Yeah, I'm sorry, 2012.
Yeah, an inside out. So there've been everything. Nothing is. I mean, the only thing I know that's perfect is God.
Yeah.
So I don't try to look at things and look for its imperfections and go.
Yeah.
Okay, I see a little imperfection, I'm walking away. I don't do that. I think that the thing that we should all be concerned about as human beings is at the source of serenity and prosperity is the ability to take care of ourselves and the ones that we love.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, the days of being able to survive off the land and hunt and fish and grow your own food and not have to worry about being taxed, those days are gone. So we are all forced actors in an economy. It's not voluntary.
No.
All right. So we all have to understand that we're in something that we don't have a lot of control over. We can control what we do with our time, right? So it's like, I'm not here to tell you what to think about. I mean, what to think. I'm hopefully going to give you thoughts to provoke you to think about things. Think about your economic value, right? Your time is represented in value. We call it money. That's all it is your economic energy, the representation of your economic energy. Well, I want to store my energy. When I was young, I didn't care. I lived day by day. Money was easy. I'd go out and paint a house or build a deck or whatever. And life was just, when you're young, it's easy.
Absolutely.
I'm old now. I don't want to swing a hammer. I don't want to have to paint houses to make my money. And I realized I wasn't prepared for retirement. And I think when most people break it down and get honest with themselves, they are not either. Once you start to understand every vehicle that we used to think of as an asset that would bring value to the future us, right? Our future is being robbed at a rate that's been unprecedented in history through the devaluation of the dollar and every single thing that has derived its value from either cash flow or revenue. There is nothing that has value that is derived from its cash flow or revenue that isn't being debased at 20% per year. And it's going to be like that for the next 5 to 10 years. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Not a thing.
It's runaway money.
What are the alternatives?
Paper back and paper.
Go through the list. Real estate. We know they're going to increase taxes because states have to increase their tax receipts. They have to. They're limited. They cannot print money like the federal government. States rely on taxes to pay for its ongoing everything.
Yeah.
Okay. So real estate's going to get taxed. Stocks are based on companies that derive their value from revenue and cash flow.
Yep.
Are companies all of a sudden creating more goods and services? No. They've increased their valuation through several mechanisms. Passive indexation, which is 401ks and pension plans shoving their money into equities because there's no other place for them to get a return on investment.
A
But
good
that
return.
those companies have increased in value. They're not producing more stuff or better stuff. Okay, so we've just covered real estate. We've covered stocks. Let's talk about good old-fashioned bonds, that the safest risk-free return on your investment in the history of investing.
T-bond.
Dude, 1.36%
No,
on a 10-year bond.
that's a joke.
How are you going to fund your retirement that way?
You cannot.
Here's a quick example, just a quick kind of put that in perspective. I'm 50 years old. It is 2010. I am going to set myself up for retirement. It's going to take me $1 million US to get a $50,000 a year income for 10 years. At the end of that 10 years, I'll get my $1 million back. That was the bond then.
Yeah.
Fast forward to 2020. Guess what? If I had done that, and that was my plan, 2020 rolls along. I want to keep that $50,000 a year income.
Right.
Quick. Well, Jocelyn, maybe not you, the economics professor, but the rest of you, how much money would I need in bonds to keep that $50,000 a year income? Take a stab.
Man.
I'll tell you. $10 million in bonds to receive the $50,000 a year income. That's how much the yield of bonds have come down.
Wow. And not only that, but don't factor in inflation.
Jocelyn, you're gonna create a riot. People are gonna get crazy here if you start spitting the truth like that. $10 million to create that same $50,000 a year retirement income.
Wow.
Well, why is that? Bonds used to, they would pay you to borrow the money. But governments and corporations have painted themselves into a corner with the debt that they've taken on in order to continue to service the existing debt, they have to bring the yields, the return on investment of future debt even lower. Wow. To refinance the old debt. It is a flywheel. It's a mechanism that can't be stopped. If they stop it and all of a sudden decide, well, it would really be good for the population and the future generations if we returned to fiscal responsibility, it would create insolvency everywhere.
Yes.
The whole world would collapse, and they're not going to do that. They're going to kick the can down the road. You can guarantee it.
Well, just look at what's happening now.
What's happening now. So why wouldn't I look at a digital encrypted monetary network? Why wouldn't I? Every other option to me doesn't make any sense anymore.
But the crazy thing about that is not controlled by one, like the Fed, it's the people making it bigger and bigger, making the pie bigger and bigger versus the Fed artificially inflating it,
Well, what the Fed does is they're able to control one side of the yield, which is what they call the overnight window. The Fed directly sets the rate for you to borrow overnight, 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day. That's it.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's all the Fed can do. On the rate side, what else can the Fed do? The Fed can absorb or be a buyer of last resort. Now, that creates a really interesting dynamic because if any of us know anything about survival of the fittest, and you get stronger from Darwinian, if you understand Darwin's laws, the Fed has now created a place where nobody fails. No businesses fail.
Right.
They will they will take on the
large.
They will buy the liquidity. Well, guess what? If nobody's failing,
there's no risk.
There's no risk. Well, how can you get if there's no risk, there's no reward.
Right.
You're killing me. You're killing me, Jerry.
You're killing me, Smalls. Once you get, what are the kids using this term now? Woke. They're using the term woke. You know what? I got financially woke in 2018, and I made it my mission to learn and understand the world economy, global economy. They call it macroeconomics, and then understand monetary policy. And by going through this process and understanding these things, it becomes very clear the direction I need to go. Because I think we all, at our core, want very simple things. We want security for our families and our loved ones. Now, I don't know about you guys, but for most of my life, it was my time and energy. I had to hustle. And when I was young, I didn't mind having a job. You know, I had my business, my contractor's license during the day, and then I would take a side gig. You know, I worked for an entertainment company for a while. I worked for a manufacturing company for a while. I wrote home loans for a while. I worked for a gun store at nights and weekends for a while. I've always had a side hustle, but that's because I like to do stuff. You know, I like to go take vacations, and you know, I kind of like to go to Vegas once in a while. I do stuff, get crazy.
Right.
But when you get older and you're thinking about whoa, everything I was told as a kid to get myself ready for retirement, none of those things work anymore. The current climate in the foreseeable future, all those things do not produce what they used to produce.
Absolutely.
So I'm ass out. And I just hate to say it. And you know, you all seem like very smart people. I think if you really evaluate, how long are you really going to live? Right? I thought I thought 50, I'm done. I said that yesterday to somebody. I never saw a future with me beyond 50. I mean, I lived fast. I rode my motorcycle. I mean, I did stuff, you know, I did stuff that probably should have killed me. But guess what? The good Lord has blessed me with life. And thank you for that. And he woke me to the fact that, you know what, you better start thinking about how you're going to finance your future. Now, you folks all look like you're living in nice places. I had to move out of the United States. I couldn't afford to live in Northern California while I got my mind right and my life right. I moved down to Costa Rica.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
And I have financed my life $350 a month for a fully furnished little studio with electricity, water, cable, internet, and garbage, fully furnished. Rent is $180 a month for all that stuff. I'm able to walk to my local butcher. Down here, it's really different. I've got an organic butcher in my neighborhood. They don't call it organic, but it is organic. The animals eat the vegetation from the ground. They're not getting injected with stuff. So it's natural. The farmers are bringing the eggs and the chicken that are living off the land, not stuff that's been manufactured and spit out to them.
Weird.
You know what I mean? And so I'm able to live on cheap local food, but it's good, it's nutritious, it's healthy, it's all the stuff you would pay a lot more for in the United States. So I live my life for $350 a month while I continue to build my retirement investments through digital assets.
That's what's up.
Because I see a future there. I can understand people that have the argument, I don't see the intrinsic value in code, in ones and zeros. How does ones and zeros create value? At least they can understand Apple makes a phone that I want. And people will go out and buy this phone. And that money they bought the phone with will go back to Apple. And I understand that mechanism. Right? It's simple. This is what I'll tell you. The monetary network that is Bitcoin, the value is from every one of those $1.1 trillion that got put on the network before you came to it. So, Greg, let's say tomorrow you decide you're going to get with Jerry. We're going to talk on the phone and kind of walk you through a kind of simple, prudent investment strategy, right? Every dollar you put on the network, it's going to benefit every other person in the network, but it's also going to benefit you because the network gets larger.
Right.
Well, why does that simple little thing work? It's because the fixed supply of the asset involved. If you can increase the supply, you can manipulate the network, but you can't manipulate the supply of Bitcoin.
Because it is what it is.
Speak to us about, I mean, Jocelyn should be the one talking about supply and demand. You understand this principle. It was a big part of your education. Tell me the value of a network with a fixed supply asset.
Is inelastic. So therefore, there's nobody actually, if you got a set supply, it is what it is. So it's elastic. So the demand for it is not going to readily necessarily impact the value of it, because it's fixed. At no given time can you create more unless you get more people in that network. But if you have that same 100 people with that same $100, that's the value. Am I correct?
You are correct, but this is the flip side of what you're talking about. It's actually the complete opposite.
Okay.
The addressable market, which are the members that can come into the network, is 7.2 billion is the population of the planet, right?
Yeah.
Plus or minus.
Okay.
Most people want a secured store of value.
Got it.
Express it in the form of their investment in gold, or their investment in Apple stock, or their purchase of a home, or their purchase of a rental property that they're going to rent to people. All those things are expressions of people's desire to store value.
Okay, so my question to you then, Jerry, is it's a fixed amount. So how would it be a fixed amount?
The actual coin is fixed, Jocelyn. The addressable market is massive.
But I don't understand where the growth comes from, and that's where I'm getting from. So
Jocelyn, if there's 100 million people on planet Earth that own Bitcoin right now,
everybody owns $1 worth of Bitcoin. So we got 100
million.
million.
Those 100 million own various amounts of it. Some people might own $1, some people might own $1 billion.
Let's keep it simple for just.
Okay, so 100 million people out of 7 billion people own this, have money on the network, and it's 1.1 trillion.
Okay.
Every new person is incentivized to come in because the value is there. It's already there. There's $1 trillion. This is $1 trillion asset.
Okay, so it's there. So if I come in with $1,
but the network grows.
Okay.
And what happens with a fixed asset with a growing network is the value of the fixed unit goes up because there's only 21 million of them.
Got it.
And the more people, the more value. The earlier you get in, the more valuable you are.
Got it.
Okay, Johnson, did you get your question answered?
I think so, not quite, but I'm getting there.
Okay, it's that analogy, Jocelyn. It's that analogy of Greg created 10 widgets that 100 million people want.
Right. But now,
what happens when there is 100 million more people, but still only those 10 widgets?
The value is going to go. The price goes up.
Okay, now let's say it got all the way up to 1 billion people, but the widgets did not increase.
The value is going to continue to go up.
That's the analogy. 21 million Bitcoin, 7.2 billion people on the planet.
Okay, so I'm there with you.
Okay.
So are you saying that because I'm coming in later, what you may have been able to get a Bitcoin for, let's say $10, now because I came in 5 years later and it's now at whatever trillion amount, I can't get the value at the same value that the person who came in 5 years ago? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying the market decides the price based on supply and demand, and Bitcoin has gone up 200% per year every year for the last 10 years.
Yep.
So with that being said, to that $5 Bitcoin that was purchased 10 years ago is now 5 times 200%.
It's at $54,000 today
per coin.
Okay.
Per coin. Now, here's the thing. Back to networks and value. Only 21 billion Bitcoin. Each Bitcoin is valued at $54,000 right now. Only 100 million people on the planet are putting their monetary value on the network. 100 million people. The network is worth $1 trillion. The addressable market for a store of value is $200 trillion.
Right.
Okay.
So what's the bubble? What makes the bubble break? Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is there a cap? I mean, what is it in?
The cap is the total addressable value of the planet. Whatever the value of monetary value is on the planet is the addressable market.
So in the perfect world, everybody takes all of their assets and put it in Bitcoin.
Well, that would also be impractical.
I know that's not possible, but I'm just saying, literally. So the person who started off day one now is going to exponentially benefit because now the whole world's assets are in Bitcoin.
Yes, the network is going to become more and more valuable as each new participant brings value to the network in the form of their money.
So is there a breaking point where that system will?
No.
Why?
Why? Because it was engineered well.
But how? So what's the difference of how we'll use the U.S. Currency? I get the feds. I get all of that. I get the interest rates. I get all of that. Who engineered Bitcoin?
A team of developers, a team of computer cryptographic nerds.
Yeah.
So is this similar to what was that happened? They broke the system about a couple months ago.
Okay.
GameStopper folks.
Yeah, that was the dynamic of the GameStop
and that stock market
scandal was based off of liquidity and capacity. Bitcoin is a decentralized network. Okay, if we got 500 million people to get on Facebook at the very same time and play a video, we might break Facebook.
Absolutely, because it's in the
we might break YouTube if we could get 2 billion people at the very same time to turn on YouTube and go to the same video. We could break YouTube. Those
100 people in an elevator.
100 people in sync. There you exactly, Jocelyn. That's because every one of those things is centralized. Bitcoin is a network that is distributed on hundreds of thousands of computers all over the world. There is no single point of failure.
So what's the law and order? There's got to be some.
The law and order is the code, the governance, the rules that were designed at inception by a synonymous entity called Satoshi Nakamoto. Nobody knows who or what that was. And it's open source. It is not controlled by anyone, but yet governed by a set of code and distributed to hundreds of millions of computers.
Yeah.
So it's fail proof. So quote unquote, it's an open system across all these different networks.
So how do you,
a blackout, rolling, collapse.
Okay, there you go. You figured it out. If the world went dark, right? If the internet was shut down on the entire planet at the same time, that would hurt us. That is a absolutely logical, rational, reasonable thing.
Right.
That is true, Jocelyn. That is a point of failure. When the electricity and the internet goes out on the entire planet at the same time.
And
I will tell you, I think you got bigger problems.
But we'd also say in 2020/2021, there never could be a virus that would take down the entire world. What happened in 2020 now rolling into 2021 with the potential of being here for the next 5 years or so?
Did the virus take down the world or did policy?
All of the above, because I mean, let's just call a fact. We're dealing with the world stage now. So every country and every different element has different policies. So if in fact if it was an infallible policy, there's not one that exists. So therefore, with that being said, the folks in China, now I just left Aruba, the folks in Aruba. And the interesting thing about this conversation was while I was there, they explained to me that Aruba does not have any crime. they don't have any unemployment. It is truly the happy place. But even in the happy place, guess what? They got attacked by this thing called COVID-19. So I guess with that being said, you're saying that there is no, it's an open source. So there is no governance of this thing past the code. And nobody has any idea or understanding or who developed this code to make it so perfect. And I guess that's what I question.
Okay, you're allowed to question that.
Yeah.
See, I'm kind of coming from the school of the truth is, Jocelyn, I don't know how my car really, really works. I know that when I get in and turn the key and it starts and it takes me from point A to point B, I kind of look at the result of it. I could not engineer a car for you.
But I could go to the plant and talk to the engineers. That's the difference.
Well,
you may not be able to engineer.
You can go to the Bitcoin code and review the code. It's public. It's open. It's permissionless. You can review the code. If you do not know how to read code, like I do not know how to read code, you could develop a relationship with a coder, a developer, and ask, what is your thoughts on this? What are your opinions on this? This is what I've done because I cannot read code. But I know that I can find a YouTuber who's a coder who I can make comments with, get an email address with, and I have talked to you on the phone and done interviews on my YouTube channel with these people. Because if I want to learn something, I need to go to an expert who knows it.
Okay. Hey, look, Pat wants to know, is it worth to get into the mining of Bitcoin?
Well,
go ahead.
Well, I say no because of two or three things. Automation has hit it. I mean, these machines that we're putting on now, that's all they basically are, is mining machines. You just walk in and do your thing, add add Bitcoin. That's it, to your Bitcoin wallet. And I think automation is going to take all that over. I think it's going to just blow it out. It doesn't make no sense to mine Bitcoin.
So let me ask you this.
Hang on, Maurice. Hang on one second. Maurice, Maurice is talking about access points for human beings to acquire Bitcoin. That's not mining. That is an automated process of using a ATM, Bitcoin ATM, to acquire Bitcoin. Mining is a completely separate issue. What mining is the validation process. It's where hash rate, specialized computers validate transactions. Everybody in the world says this transaction happened, then this transaction happened, then this transaction happened. It's written into an immutable record, this ledger. And for doing so, you can earn rewards. And the rewards you can earn on the Bitcoin network are Bitcoin.
Right.
Only 900 Bitcoin are created each day. In 2.5 years, that will go in half to 450 each day. Then in 4 years, it will get cut in half to 225 each day. And it will do that until it reaches zero. Every 4 years, the ability to produce the Bitcoins through that validation process called mining happens. Bitcoin mining is very expensive. It's very expensive equipment. You have to expend a tremendous amount of electricity, and everybody is in there fighting for those 900 Bitcoin a day that can be produced. Look, is it worth getting into mining? It depends on how much capital you have. If you have millions and millions of dollars in a long time horizon, it may be very profitable. But if you don't, then maybe it probably isn't.
Yeah.
I hope that answered that gentleman's question.
So look, I'm looking online as well. They're saying that the best cryptocurrencies by market capitalization, and they have a lot of different ones here: Bitcoin, Ethereum, if I'm pronouncing that right, Tether, Binance, Cardano, Polkadot, and all of these. The market capitalization is in the billion. Why are there so many different types?
Okay. Nobody will agree on one thing. How many of you can get 10 of your friends together in the same room and unanimously agree on something? You do, Jocelyn?
Yeah, that I'm beautiful.
Well, that's obvious.
I disagree.
Oh, no.
Craig.
Not all digital assets, quote unquote, cryptocurrencies are trying to be what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is a wonderful store of value. It's been around the longest. It's the oldest. It has the longest track record of security, all that stuff.
Right.
There are blockchains that are specifically designed to write programmable contracts so that business functions can occur. So, Greg, let's say I was a sponsor of your show. Well, generally, there's an agreement. That's you and I are entering a contract. You are going to represent Core, and I'm going to pay you to do so. We've just entered a contractual relationship.
Right.
All right. That's nothing new. But what if your contractual relationship, the quote unquote contract, also came with a value associated to it?
Mm-hmm.
So the contract could also be the transfer of value.
Okay.
So I create a token to represent that contract. It is the Greg and Jerry Core sponsorship on Pure Life YouTube channel contract. And I am going to tie into this contract all of our agreements. Greg is going to flash the bottle 3 times per hour. Greg is going to mention me once per hour. Greg is going to flash something on the screen twice per hour. Whatever the specifics of our arrangement are, we can write in that contract. And then we can also write in that contract that when Greg meets obligation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 of our contractual obligation, once he's done all these things, then I will shoot him over $50 US in the form of this digital representation of the dollar called Tether or the USDC coin. That is called programmable money. Now, if you know anything about behavioral economics or the phenomenon that is network growth, when you look at networks like cell phones, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, they all have behavioral economic mechanisms in there. Hit the like button, right? Like my post on Facebook, like my tweet. Give me a heart on Instagram. These are all social incentives. It's positive feedback. That has a value. Sometimes it's represented in the form of money. Sometimes it's just represented in the form of your network growing. More people subscribing to your YouTube channel or your Facebook page or your Instagram stream or whatever the thing is. Well, now we can take and create these things in a decentralized way. So we basically can create Facebook without Facebook.
Right.
We can create Twitter without Twitter. There's a thing called Theta, which is the YouTube without YouTube. It's decentralized. And all of the behavioral economics are built in with tokens in these systems. So let's say Greg was on Theta and he's broadcasting on Theta. Well, Theta Network is paying Greg to put contact on their platform. People who are watching the Theta broadcast are earning a little bit of this Theta coin. Talk about behavioral economics. When you start incentivizing people with value as opposed to affirmation, programmable money. And that's what many of those other digital assets, Greg, that you were reading off that weren't Bitcoin are going after and doing all those things.
And all of them are in a billion at the market capitalization. All of them are in billion.
Well, Ethereum's 200 billion. It's the largest programmable money cryptocurrency in the market currently. Tether is nothing more than a digital representation of the dollar. So look at the price of Tether every day. Guess what it is?
It's not much, is it?
It's $1.
It's tied to the dollar, isn't it?
It's $1.
Yeah.
So today it's $1. Tomorrow it'll be $1.
Huh.
You know what I mean? So it's just a digital representation of the dollar. Then you've got coins that are not necessarily designed to do anything other than to move value from here to there extremely fast.
That makes sense. I got you.
So, you know, there are these blockchain projects that track something from the raw material in the ground and track it all the way through its process, through the supply chain, all the way till it gets to become that Versace handbag. And it's authenticated on an immutable ledger of authenticity. This is not a Chinese knockoff. This is the real Versace bag.
Wow.
Shut up now.
They're doing these things where it's like chain of custody. If anybody understands anything about criminal justice system, chain of custody is very important to understand that this thing that you're showing me is the thing that we're referencing. This is the knife that killed Johnny. That's chain of custody. It's also in manufacturing called supply chain management.
Yeah.
They're doing things now in the art world, you know, NBA Top Shots, and basketball fans in the house, but they're taking video representation of a player doing a special thing, creating a video clip of it, turning it into a token, and only issuing 10 of them. And that's it. This is the only place you're going to get it. Now, can somebody make a copy of it? Yes. But the authentic original has a direct ownership right to the person that bought the thing.
Mona Lisa. So let me,
authenticity built into a digital entity.
yeah. So let me ask you this.
Okay.
So I invested in 2010 $100,000 in Bitcoin.
Who? 2010 you did? Can I go on your yacht? Can I get a ride on your yacht, Jocelyn?
That of course.
You're gorgeous.
Hypothetical.
You are gorgeous, baby.
You said it, Greg. I gave you your thing back. Okay, so look. So today we're 2021. I'm worth $2 trillion. Okay, math is off, but y'all get what I'm saying.
No, the math isn't off.
No, that's
so my $2 trillion. Now, how do I convert that to livable dollars? Because Bitcoin, as you said, is digital. But now I want to reap what I've been able to invest in my. All right. So how does that work? This is a 2-point question.
Okay, got the first part.
How does it work for me to pull it out? The second part, what does that do to the network and its value?
I understand. That's only 2. Where's the third?
That was 2. Just 2.
Okay. So the first part is realizing. How do I realize this value? It's one thing to have it on a balance sheet.
Correct.
It's another thing to go to the club.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. I will tell you first the street level thing. You would sell some of it. You would pay the capital gains tax on it. And you would
wait. Hold up. How am I paying capital gains on something that is not even real, according to to this world over here?
Jocelyn.
I'm just asking.
It may not be real to you, my pretty young Nubian princess, but I will tell you who it's very real to. It is very real to the Internal Revenue Service.
Okay.
It's very real. It
Okay.
is its tax treatment as an asset, as a piece of property.
But
they
if
consider Bitcoin
this anomaly, is then the Bitcoin world sending me a 1099? Are they sending me
the exchange in which you converted it through to turn it into dollars would send you a 1099.
Mm.
So that's one way. That's one way. Jocelyn, let me tell you how the rich have stayed rich forever. You want to know how the rich stay rich?
I listening.
Money.
They don't sell their pristine assets. They don't sell them. You know what they do?
They leverage them.
They collateralize loans against them.
Mm-hmm.
So Jerry, let me ask you this question. Here in Tennessee,
Maurice, hang on one second.
okay.
When you collateralize a loan,
Mhm.
loans are tax-free.
Correct. Makes sense. Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Maurice.
Here in Tennessee, they have started using Bitcoin to allow people to buy cars and houses.
Sure.
Yeah.
They use Bitcoin to buy cars.
Yeah, here in Tennessee. Yeah.
I have a question for any of you. If somehow you stumbled across an authentic original Mona Lisa, and there was a market of people that said to you, I want to rent that from you for 6 weeks out of the year to put in my gallery. And then there was a couple people that said, hey, listen, I want to buy that from you. I want to give you a price. I want to take it and you'll never own it again. What are you going to do?
Rent it.
Are you going to milk that thing every year of your life for the rest of your life and rent it to people? Or are you going to sell it once?
I'm going to rent the crap out of it.
You're going to rent it. You're never going to let go of ownership of that thing because it's scarce. There's only one of them.
Not to mention the value is steadily going up while you're renting it.
And why is that? Why does the value of the Mona Lisa continue to go up when every single one of us can print on a computer and print a copy of the Mona Lisa?
Demand.
Authenticity, supply and demand. The supply and
demand. I'm going to print it and say it's authentic.
It's the authenticity. It's the authenticity. And that is what the Bitcoin network offers people who put their money on it. Bitcoin is a individual bearer asset. It is not an IOU.
Well, you just answered the second part of my question then.
Yeah. I'm brilliant.
Okay, you said
Jocelyn, am I bald and beautiful?
Yep.
That'll go.
Hey, Jocelyn, am I bald and beautiful?
Huh?
Am I bald and beautiful?
Sure.
Am I bald and beautiful? Okay, thanks.
Absolutely.
I'll take it. You're gorgeous. Especially with $3 trillion sitting in your bank account. Your
big boy. I'm thinking Janet Jackson.
So come on, Jerry. We're gonna have to fight over this one, man. But you know,
so I get it. So
Jerry, my question to you: Why do you think that
Hold on, Jerry.
Hold on 1 second.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you, Jocelyn. I'm sorry.
So Jerry, just to conclude and wrap that up, because I got it, other people may have not gotten it. So what happens is either you are actually holding on to that asset if you decide to collateralize and loan it. And if you sell it, again, it does not change the supply of the Bitcoin because you've actually redeemed it or sold it to another person. So it does not affect the value in a negative way because of that change.
It depends. If everybody who owns some Bitcoin decided to sell some Bitcoin at the same time, and the amount of demand was not equal to the amount of supply coming to be sold, it would lower the price. Just like the price goes up when there is more demand than there is supply to meet that demand.
Right.
But it is truly a free market. It's not manipulated by politicians.
Got it.
Or debt or any of the other downfalls that we are feeling the effects of in our national economy. Gina was trying to chime in there for a second. Go ahead, Gina.
Yes, I just wanted to know your opinion on why do you feel or why do you think a lot of people don't want to get into the Bitcoin? Because it sounds like there's a lot of benefits to it, but just like myself and Greg and probably I would say probably 1 out of 7 people that I know probably have Bitcoin.
1 out of 7, that's a lot. I will tell you, you don't need to look any further than historical human behavior. How many of us are willing to walk into a dark cave that is unknown? We don't know what's in there. We don't know what's been in there. We don't know what could come of us going in there. We're all leery or skeptical of the unknown. That's just a normal human attribute. And as a matter of fact, it's kind of in our DNA. It's called self-preservation. Don't put yourself in situations where you could get whacked. And if you don't know the outcome of the destination you're going, most people will be very apprehensive to go there. I mean, how many strangers have pulled up to you, Jocelyn or Gina, in today's world and said, hey, girl, come on, hop in the car. I want to take you somewhere. And you're like, I've never seen you before in my life. How many of you get in the car? Gina, you getting in the car with the dude you've never seen before in your life going somewhere you don't know?
Absolutely not.
How about you, Jocelyn?
Lyft or Uber? Okay.
I'm not referring to Lyft or Uber. The point is we are all apprehensive of the unknown to some degree. Gina, that's the question you asked. Why are people apprehensive to get into this thing that you're making sound kind of really sound and practical and logical and reasonable? It's because they don't know. And when you have people coming on and telling you, I don't know nothing about it, I just know it's going to go up. Get your money in it because it's going to go up. I'm going to retire on this shit. Yeah, okay, that's great, but how does it work? What's going on? And I get that. I was the same way. Case in point, I'll tell you a quick little story. 2017, all of my capital was in the stock market. I was investing in cannabis stocks. I thought that was a very growth-oriented place to put my money. 2017, my buddy calls me, says, man, I got into this thing. It's called Bitcoin, and it is going to go up, and it is huge. You better get some money in this quick. This is the same dude that turned me on to cannabis stocks a year and a half earlier. So I looked at it for a minute, and I said, it's nothing but ones and zeros. There's no intrinsic value. There's no company behind it. There's no government contracts. I mean, where is this value going to come from? I didn't get it then. Just like a lot of people don't get it now. After a year of studying macroeconomics and understanding monetary policy and fiscal policy and currency, what they call the velocity of money and how that impacts economies, and then understanding the debt cycle and business cycles, it's become very clear to me that it is the only place for me to put my money. It's like, why would I put my money in something that might not even track the rate of monetary expansion? Monetary expansion is going to be this is the truth. It's not me making up numbers and shit. It's published by the Fed. They're going to increase our monetary supply by about 20% per year for the next 4 years. They have to try to get the economy rolling again, to get a velocity of money going.
Well, the pie's gotten bigger too. I mean, it's got gigantic now. So
and it will continue to get gigantic because there's nobody going to come to the Federal Reserve Bank and say, all that money on your balance sheet, you owe us. No. You will never get the entire United States citizenry to come together on something and say, okay, we demand fiscal responsibility. I mean, we can't even come together on who the next dude that should lead the country is. The country is divided. I mean, we got each other beating the shit out of each other over a knucklehead. Either knucklehead. I mean, I don't care. All that stuff is garbage, in my opinion. It doesn't produce results. What produces results is we come together as a community. We take care of each other. We love each other, and we do what's right for each other.
Period.
I don't see, I'd like to think that politics has our best interests in play, but you guys, come on, you know the truth. It doesn't.
Wrong.
It has what they call their lobbyists, their PACs. That's who they're going to take care of. That's the best interest they're going to look after, not you and me.
Because it's driven by what? Money.
Greed. It's called money. It's called financial empowerment.
Greed.
Using what you got to get what you want. More.
Using what you got to get.
I heard that in the Players Club.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Use what you got to get what.
Women have been doing it for years.
So I would encourage anybody. The very first thing you should do is get real with yourselves in your own personal assets and balance sheets on, are you prepared for retirement? Really, honestly,
No, that's true talk. I had a conversation yesterday with my brother who's been doing investments with stocks for quite some time, and he just said, Greg, yeah, you got money, but is that enough? He said you need to do the homework. Is that enough money to last you when you finally hang all of this stuff up? And me, I was a little arrogant. I'm like, man, I got a few million. I'm good. Mm-hmm. He's like, but is that enough?
Well, do the math. Mm-hmm. If you got $1 million in a cash equivalent, that's a stock, a bond, commodity, and the purchasing power of your dollar is draining by 20 cents a dollar. Mm-hmm. How many years can you go when you stop earning? Mm-hmm. Consider retirement is you're not out there using your time to generate economic value. Mm-hmm. Right. So once you get out of the workforce, how long will that money last eroding at 20 cents on the dollar? How long will it last?
That's a great question. I haven't done the math yet, but it's not as far as I thought it would be.
All and then to take into consideration, even if you try to live off the interest, you're living negatively.
Yeah.
Well, because you'll never receive an interest. If you're earning 1.3% interest on your bond, what they call the risk-free return on investment, that's only offsetting that 20% by 1.68%. So now your money's eroding at 18% a year instead of 20%.
Right.
Ooh. How fast does that melting iceberg of inflation deteriorate your net worth? Yeah. What it's going to force every single one of us to do is never retire.
Right.
We're going to have to earn for our entire lives. It means we're going to be obligated to something else for our time and energy. We're not going to be able to devote it to the things that we truly want unless it produces an economic outcome. In other words, I'm going to get paid.
A residual income vehicle.
Yep.
Can you create generational wealth with this Bitcoin?
Well, okay. How about this? We're going to get away from generalizations. I will share with you guys the truth. I'm very open about my whole endeavor. I've got a YouTube channel. I got a small investment club on Patreon, and this is all we do. So this has been my plan from the very beginning. I want to build enough capital through my investments that I will create a trust in my family's name. There will be a family trust. It will be filled with a ton of assets that are all mechanized or utilizing mechanisms to produce yield. In other words, Bitcoin will be lent to people and I will receive Bitcoin back for lending them the Bitcoin that they want to use or whatever. So at approximately $1.75 million of valuation in my portfolio, I will therefore take a very small piece of that capital, hold it for myself, and put the rest in a trust. That trust will be administered by myself and my 2 children. It will have provisions in the trust to take care of their children, but it'll be just like any business or any bank.
Okay.
If my son's unborn daughter wants to start a business or go to college, she will submit an application to the fund to receive funding for that.
Okay.
She wants and it'll be just like anything else. It won't be like, Daddy, can I have some money? It'll be, she's going to have to learn how to submit like a grant request. And the trust will provide her the financial capital necessary to do that with one provision that you cannot exceed 90% of what the fund generates. So the fund will always add 10% of itself back into itself to continue to grow and compound.
Okay.
And that's how you create generational wealth, is that you never spend the principal. You only ever spend up to 85, 90% of the interest, allowing 10 or 15% of the interest to compound back into the principal. And as long as you have that kind of ratio, it will continue to build and build and build. You'll never exhaust it. Matter of fact, it'll only get bigger.
There you go.
So Greg, that's how you build generational wealth. It's the mechanism. And all those legal structures are available to us. Each and every one of us can design a family trust, have an attorney put it together. Each and every one of us can create an LLC and operate our lives and our hobbies and our passions through a limited liability corporation. All right? That corporation can get its initial funding from the trust. You want to buy land? Great. The trust buys land in the form of a land trust and leases it to you to use.
Right.
You die, that's okay. Still in the family trust. The next family member can utilize that land for whatever purposes are written in the covenants of the land trust. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All those mechanisms are here and available. Matter of fact, you can put all that stuff together for as little as around $5,000.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all the legal stuff. You know, that you're going to need your estate planning, tax
LLC.
Yeah, you can create a limited liability corporation, a family trust, and the mechanics for acquisition of land and things like that to be put into land trust for all this thing. You can get all that done for about $5,000.
Okay. So, Jenny, you feel any different about cryptocurrency right now?
Yeah, I do. I understand it a bit more. Like I said earlier on, that's one of the reasons I didn't want to get involved in it, because I didn't understand it.
Right.
That kind of opens up a little bit more understanding on how it does work.
So you have a lot of videos on this on YouTube, Jerry.
Oh, you're checking out my YouTube channel?
Yeah.
I had the good fortune of starting a channel and seeking out experts, right? I sought out experts. I wanted to learn. So on my YouTube channel, you'll find interviews with macroeconomists, billionaire investors, digital asset code developers, and people that have started blockchain projects, and normal folks just like us. And every Friday night, I do a live stream where I'll have a guest. It'll be a topic like, for instance, last week.
I was just going to ask you about that.
My guest last week was a real estate agent here in Costa Rica who did not own any Bitcoin. He knows nothing about cryptocurrencies. The topic of the show was currency arbitrage. Can you imagine a life where you earn in a currency that's going up in value, but actually spending the expenses in your life in a currency that's devaluing? Case in point, I earn my money in Bitcoin. That's how I earn. That's my income, is in digital assets. And their price is going up relative to the US dollar. But I live my life, I pay all my bills, and I buy all my food in the Costa Rican colony, which is going down in value to the US dollar. They call that arbitrage, when you take the difference between this and you capitalize on it. That's called arbitrage. And in my case, it's called currency arbitrage. And the show last week, its entire topic and entire premise was relocation as an investment. Okay, how many of you, when you do your retirement math and you really look at what you got going, and you know, where do you live now? Do you want to stay there? Are you going to be able to afford to stay there? All that stuff. And you start looking at other options: Colombia, Asia, Thailand, Mexico, Costa Rica, whatever it is. It doesn't matter, some other place. And you start seeing the cost of living is less. Medical care is less. Transportation is less. Property is much less. Food costs much less. Cost of living lower.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't need 100,000 US dollars just to survive in this world that I'm currently living in. Maybe my retirement plan shows that I'll be able to extract about a $50,000 a year income, and I can live like a king in some other place.
Right, in pesos.
Exactly. I learned a long time. I heard this old man tell me, he says, earn in dollars, spend in pesos.
That's one of the shows
Hey,
I'm looking at.
I'm telling you, I know a friend. I used to work at Motorola when I first got out of school, And this guy, he never said anything to anybody. He slept in his car. He just made money. He was getting bar fights all the time. And one year he decided he was done. He said, I'm through. I'm going to quit. I said, well, what are you going to do? He said, oh, I'm going to Mexico so I can buy me a Family Dollar. And to this day, he has 4 Family Dollars in Mexico.
Yeah, it's really cheap to live there. You could go over there with $10,000 and you're considered rich over in Mexico. So, but where I would love to go, and I'm not sure how Bitcoin works over there, is Spain. And it ain't cheap to live there, but I was there for 14 days and I absolutely loved it.
I like
global. Bitcoin, digital assets are global networks.
I love the way it's
beautiful. Yeah. I would, you know what? I'd like to visit the coastline. I'd like to travel the entire coastline of Spain.
Let's do it, man. I'm ready.
Yeah. I won't be traveling for a while. Interesting point. Portugal, which is south of Spain, right? Beautiful, beautiful place, Portugal. Portugal has designed it's attracting people from all over the world because they've created friendly taxation. You can make a living in Bitcoin or some other digital asset in Portugal and not have to pay income tax.
Oh, Lord, I hate when people say that. Woo. That's true.
One of the games you learn, it's not how much you make necessarily, it's how much you keep.
How much you keep.
And that secret is with the impetus for understanding your currency debasement. Greg, you can make $1 million a year, but 20 cents on every dollar, you're actually only making 800,000.
Yep.
All right. Now you making $1 million a year and your currency's debasing at 20% per year, but you're also getting taxed if you're making $1 million a year, 40%.
I get ready to say.
Here he is, Greg, this incredible YouTuber, got this silky smooth voice, got the good look, attracting people, build this beautiful brand, making $1 million a year. IRS says, okay, Greg, we're the IRS, we're federal. We're going to take 40% of that. Greg goes, oh, I only got 600,000 now.
No, I'm going to be like, hell no.
But Greg, we're not done. Now that the Fed came, the federal government took that 40. Now the state wants. Well, the state wants 7.5 to 8% of your income. You go, well, now, okay, I got 580 million left. 580,000 left. Sorry. And now you go, wait a second. At 20% per year, this is, if I didn't work again, this is gone in 7 years.
Broke.
0. In 7 years. Whoa. Get it? It's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. How much of your economic energy are you really going to have? Or how much is being bled away through taxation, currency debasement, monetary policy?
That's crazy. That is crazy.
So if nobody gleans anything else from this conversation, understand that about money. Learn about the inflation rate of money. Understand what it does to the purchasing power of things, how it affects the price of commodities, the things that you're going to want, assets like property or Van Gogh, like we talked about the Picasso or whatever. Learn about this because it is the single thing. If you understand it, then you can start to protect yourself against it, because at some point you're going to get to a stage in life where you do not have the same earning potential as you do now.
Wow.
Your earning potential will degrade just like everything else. All of us are going to get old and withered. Well, except for Jocelyn. She's gorgeous. Couple $1 trillion is hard to age that.
I wish, from your lips to God's ears.
You know what I mean? Take that part seriously. I personally don't care if any of you ever buy a sliver of Bitcoin. It's not going to affect my life one way or the other. If you understand your place in the economy and how little control you really have, look for the safe havens where you can be safe against the I'm going to call it treachery.
Yeah.
Your value is being stolen from you through taxation and currency debasement.
It makes you think about how many football players have got tucked down the hole just because of that. They made the money, they didn't keep very much of it.
They didn't keep it.
Yeah.
The
It
world's
didn't have
filled with
anybody
stories of
similar.
lottery winners that have gone broke, bankrupt, pro players selling their Super Bowl rings, living in their trucks.
Wow.
No, I've been there before a long time ago. I was living under the swings. I was doing it, but hey, God is good. God is tremendous.
Yes, he is.
Thank you. I agree. Thank you, Lord.
Hey, man.
I was about to say, you God? You said thank you. I was like, wait, hold on. I didn't imagine, guys, when you look like Jerry. Just kidding.
Hey, God is in all of us.
All jokes, all jokes.
All of us. He looks like you. I am Malcolm X. Anyway, that was another movie. That's great. Hey, Jerry, look, you gave us a wealth of knowledge today, man.
Indeed. Thank you.
Wealth of knowledge. We got to do this again.
I'm happy to do that. Can I ask each and every one of you and your audience to join me Friday nights?
Yeah, I saw that.
9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on the Jerry V. Hall YouTube channel. I'm the only Jerry V. Hall who has a YouTube channel.
So that's Friday at 9 p.m. Central?
No, Eastern.
Eastern, so it's
9 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific. Find the channel, hit the subscribe and the notification. I do a live show every Friday night. And occasionally when I get a great person to do an interview with, I'll do an interview and post it. I'm on Twitter at Jerry V. Hall. I'm on Facebook at Jerry V. Hall. I'm on Instagram. That's right, Jerry V. Hall.
Who? Did you say Jerry V. Hall?
That's the one and only.
The one and only. Everybody, that's Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Thank you, Greg.
Pacific.
Thank you, Greg. 925.
Pacific. And what's the what's the link?
Jerry V. Hall over on YouTube.
You got that.
Yeah, just go to YouTube and type in Jerry V. Hall. It'll be right there. You'll see my bald, beautiful smile.
I tell you what picked it up really quick. I put Bitcoin in front of it. I put Bitcoin Jerry V. Hall, and boom, everything came up.
My channel is about investing. My whole channel, the premise is educate ourselves, right? Because number one, the number one investment any one of us can make is in our education, right?
Right.
That is the number one investment any of us can make is in our own education. Number two, my show is centered around understanding these things, talking about investment principles. And it just so happens when I look at the world and all the available options to me, crypto is the best bang for my dollar. Yeah. If I found something that was better, Greg, I would tell you.
Okay, I believe you. I definitely believe you. So Jerry V. Hall on YouTube Friday. Let me make sure I can put that back up there. Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Gotta be there, man. Hey, man, look. There was one other question I had in my head, but I forgot what it was. But if you know, because I know you've turned a lot of people around that have those doubts that you know it's a pyramid scheme. You know, what's in it for you? How come you know why are you pushing this and that? Okay, you didn't once push us. You didn't once push us. You educated us, and that's what everybody. That was my purpose of even wanting to do this, because we've had people on the show before, as I said, and I wasn't educated. I was turned off. All right. Now I'm not turned off. I'm not just saying that because you're here, because we're brutally honest on this show, honestly. But I want to know exactly what it was about, because I didn't know. I never took the time to study. Now I know. I wanted to know what the benefits were. Didn't take time to study. Now I know. Want to know what the long term for this is. Didn't study. Now I know. All right. So if there's something that you could tell someone that could really make them, not necessarily make them, but encourage them to do cryptocurrency.
You know what I would say? I would say it's about educate yourself. So take some time to study it, and I'll give you an incredible one-stop shop resource to acquire information. It's called coinmarketcap.com. One word, coinmarketcap.com. It's an index. It's a site that aggregates all these different information elements of digital assets and puts them in a easy to digest 1 through 6,000 order, all based on market cap. Now, when you look at it at its face value, Greg, you'll see Bitcoin, today's price, the change in percentages in an hour, the change in percentage the last 7 days, volume, market cap, all that stuff, right? Which is fine and dandy. But what's really cool is if you press Bitcoin, it'll pull up the Bitcoin page. You can look at historical data. You can read about it, right? You can read like 3 or 4 paragraphs that CoinMarketCap put together that kind of give an outline of what this thing is. You can get links to the actual source code if you're a developer and want to read it. You could, by reading the description of CoinMarketCap, you get an idea of what that particular cryptocurrency is designed to do. What is it trying to do? Is it made for payments? Is it made for store of value? Is it going to be programmable money for a supply chain network? Is it going to be a crypto network for medical records? Is it going to track the ingredients of the vaccines from the source through the laboratory, through the distributors, to the doctors, to the end user? Maybe it's food chain stuff. Did that beet come out of the ground in that spot? What trucks did it take to get to that distributor, to get to that grocery store in that area? Well, what value, how many of us have ever seen or heard of mad cow disease or salmonella or some issue with food in our very complex food supply system? Well, wouldn't it be cool if we knew exactly every single piece of fruit or every piece of meat or everything? We knew exactly where it came from and the path it took to get to where we are. And if there was a problem, they could easily go back and say, okay, here, let's deal with this stuff.
Right.
Same thing with auto, same thing with everything, authenticity, all that stuff. Patrick, Dogecoin, I don't invest in Dogecoin, but if there are people that do, and if you feel you want to join that revolution, you are free to. I do not have any money invested in Dogecoin.
Yeah, I was a rumor a couple of weeks ago that Musk dumped a bunch of money in Dogecoin, but that wasn't the case. He did it in Bitcoin.
I go for value. I'm not necessarily trying to catch what's hot and new and shiny.
Yeah, because Dogecoin, I'm looking at it right now. It just tanked.
I don't chase stuff. I'm investing in the financial network of the future.
Of the future.
That happens to be now. 10 years ago, it was who knows if it was going to get adopted or not. It's over $1.1 trillion today. How do we know when a winner is a winner in a network, right? Does anybody remember or understand how to look at network effects? Any network, and there's multiple networks competing for the same thing, the winner is established when it has 90% of the value of the entire industry.
Okay.
Bitcoin as a proof of work store of value is the 90% dominant proof of work store of value crypto in the crypto world. It's the dominant one.
Best of the best.
That's, I mean, there are things, if you go back and study Metcalfe's law, that's the, understanding networks. I keep talking, Greg. You got to shut me up. Say, Jerry, thanks for having you on the show tonight. Good night, everyone.
I don't have to shut you up. Like I said, I'm learning, okay? Because you're right. As much as good as I look, Jocelyn, and I'm getting older. I got to start making some. Like I said, I had the conversation yesterday. I've been getting inbox. It was just meant for me to contact you. And thank you, Pat Dorfman, for introducing us. We all have
Patrick's
to.
a good man.
Yeah,
Patrick's a good man. Patrick is a member of my investment club.
Okay.
I have a private investment club through Patreon.
Okay.
You can subscribe at $9.99 a month or $100 a month, and there's 2 tiers. And we have meetings twice a month. I put out contents just for the people in the group. It's pretty cool. It's not about buy or invest in Bitcoin. It's let's understand the economic reality that we live in. Are you looking at this? Are you understanding this? How many people need to understand what deflation versus inflation are? I mean, we go into these topics so that we can get a well-rounded view. The more well-rounded you are, the easier it is for you to make a rational, intelligent, educated decision about something.
Yeah. So I'm looking through, this coinmarketcap.com.
Uh-huh.
And I just ran up on something like Bitcoin Cash. I've never seen that before.
It is a copy of Bitcoin.
Oh.
That does slightly faster transactions and slightly more transactions per minute.
So this is a copy of Bitcoin.
It is another proof of work digital asset, but take a look at its market cap relative to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It's tiny.
Yeah.
Look, we got to get out of here. We want to thank Jerry Hall Jerry V Hall. What's the V stand for?
Victor.
Oh, let's see.
Victor.
Yeah.
You put a Y on it, Jocelyn. You was close.
I know.
Victory. But we want to thank you, man. You have educated, the right way about what Bitcoin, what cryptocurrency is about, and now. And I hope everybody who listened agrees. Now that we're informed, now we can make a concerted effort to really decide what we want.
Learn more.
Yeah.
Tonight was a glimpse.
See my notes?
Jocelyn, I love you. Good job. Take note. Study. Learn more. Hopefully, see, the idea is with each new perspective that we gain, we can filter out the noise and get to the real educational information that will help us produce better outcomes.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff in here.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I welcome you. Come to my channel. I'd chime in on the chat on Friday night. Hey, Jerry, man, it was great to see you Monday night. I'm from Pure Life.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna
Pure Living. I'm sorry.
Dope living.
My bad.
I was gonna correct later.
Pure Life. Hey, it is what it is.
You're like, hey, look, just
All of that.
Just tune in. I'm cool without you. Call me what you want. Just tune in. So Friday 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific and Central. You figure it out. What else we got here? Make sure you go to YouTube. It's Jerry V Hall on YouTube, and he's going to have that live discussion about everything.
This Friday night. You're going to love Friday night. I've got a fellow podcaster. His name's Channing Smithington.
Is that Channing Smithington?
Yeah, it's Channing Smithington. One of the coolest brothers I know, man. Channing is cool.
There you go.
And he's a bright guy.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
We're going to be talking about art. We're going to talk about investment strategy. We're going to be talking about getting our wealth right so that we have a life of abundance. That's kind of his thing. He's about abundance. He creates it spiritually. He creates it through his relationships with people. And it's translated into, now he's really taken an effort into translating it into his financial being.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to have a beautiful golden heart, but if you're having to live in a cardboard box behind your grandma's house, it's hard to have any real impact. But if you're creating, right, you're creating something, next thing you know, he's touching somebody who is creating the next financial literacy program for children. You know what I mean? Or this person's bringing a financial literacy program to the church. Or this person's bringing a financial literacy to their recreational softball league. You know what I mean? In just spreading that abundance of that we can create a better way. Finally, there are mechanisms. We're not forced into a world of serfdom. There are options.
And you have actually enlightened us to those options, sir.
Yeah, thank you, bro.
Thank you, man.
Yeah,
all
a pleasure to meet you, Jocelyn, my Nubian princess. It's a pleasure to meet you, Maurice. Keep doing what you're doing. It sounds like you're trying to help empower people. Also, good job, brother. Thank you, and Greg, thank you for taking a chance and reaching out. It takes a leap of faith to go, I'm going to put my name and I'll have somebody come on my show. Like, I don't know this dude.
We don't have the people to come on. You know, I got the power right here. The power's right here.
So, you just do hit the leave studio button, boom, you're gone.
It's easy. But before we go, Jerry, we do something here every day. So just sit back and relax and check this out.
Okay.
You're beautiful. You're smart. You're loved. This week we're great. You got this. You're a badass. You can do this.
That was wonderful.
The baby.
All day long. Everybody who's Dopeliven TV Live. That's Maurice Bishop. He's out in Nashville, Tennessee. It's Jocelyn. She's probably in Aruba still. I don't know.
I am not in Aruba.
Gina Gaston, the author. She's in Gary. Jerry is over there in Costa Rica. We appreciate you, man, enlightening us and everybody's Dopeliven TV Live. We will see you tomorrow. What are we talking about? Who the hell knows? I don't know, but I guarantee you, at least we'll be here. All right. Hey, we'll see you guys tomorrow. All right. Thank you, Jerry.
All right. Thank you, Jerry.
All right.